early season games that will shape the playoff. Man, you got them out the gates. Like Brent, there's 3 week 1. Like
Three
that's
top 10
not
matchups.
that's not normal. You got Texas versus Ohio State, a rematch from the playoff a year ago. Texas is the favorite, obviously, the number 1 team, in the country and in the polls, and everybody's loving them to be a national championship contender. But I have to go on the road at Columbus, and let me preface this, Brent. I don't think this knocks either one of them out of the playoff, but
Who needs it more?
But I think for seeding purposes, that's what I think this game will matter. Like down the stretch of when you get the seeding, because remember, we're earning buys now. We're not giving out buys for winning, a championship and being ranked at a certain spot. Like you've got to earn your buy. And so I think this will go a long way in determining that. So that's why I think
by the
this
way,
is game
so who do you
one.
think needs this game more? Who does a win matter more to? Because to me, there is a definitive answer to this question.
Who do you think?
I think Texas, they need this win of this game way more than Ohio State does.
Why?
Ohio State, because of the conference, and I think Ohio State can still be 11-1 or 10-2, and they're in the playoffs. Texas, this game, and then we already asked the question earlier: what's more likely that they put? They got to go to Georgia, they got to go to Florida, they got to play Oklahoma still, A&M. Like their schedule to me, and obviously Arch has been crowned before he's truly started and played a meaningful game.
That really bothers you.
Struggles.
It really does bother you.
No, not at all, because I think he's going to be really, really good. But
yeah, but it kind of bothers you that he's crowned. No. But listen, he's not the only guy that gets crowned before he starts, though.
That's normal.
Like there's plenty of. He had some great moments that you tip the cap to of last year. But I think here's what we saw from Texas a year ago, Brent. Where did we see Texas go last year? To the Big House.
Oh yeah, to Michigan.
Like went to the Big House and took care of business. So interesting. You took your team into Big Ten territory last year. Huge game, huge ramifications, obviously for seeding purposes. I think both teams will be in the playoff. LSU at Clemson. Got a trivia game for you, Brent.
Ooh, let's go.
Last time, how many years has it been since LSU won an opener?
Oh, I think we talked about this, 2019. Burrow.
We did. Okay. How about this, though? In 2020, who did they lose to?
COVID year.
Think through. They threw for like 6,000 yards in this football game.
Missouri. No.
Think air raid offense.
West Virginia?
No.
Why would
SEC school.
Mississippi State, because Pelini was the defensive coordinator and Leach just threw the short game. Yes, I remember that game now.
So Mike Leach. So listen to these coaches that have beat. So in 2021, do you remember who beat them?
In the opener, was that 21?
UCLA. Chip Kelly took care of business against him.
Didn't remember that
when he
one.
was there. Yeah, that was a good one. I remember them taking care of business. 2022 and 2023, same guy, same staff. You should remember that. Remember the blocked field goal down the stretch, or the extra point a couple
Florida
years
State.
ago. Mike Norvell lost to them. And then last year, you should remember the opener.
Yeah, USC.
USC, Lincoln Riley. So Mike Leach, Chip Kelly, Mike Norvell, Lincoln Riley is the name of coaches. So it's not a bad list. But LSU at Clemson, the battle for the real Death Valley. I think this is obviously huge, but I think it's big for both. But I feel like this will have the same type of connotation as you put in Texas, because LSU, a lot more opportunities for L's on the schedule. But if they get that W, how big would it be? Like this would be a big out-of-conference win.
Game-changing.
Yes, a feather in the cap to a playoff team, a team that's going to be in the playoffs. So obviously could be a huge opportunity for LSU. And again, I'm going to talk about this during the season. When you go at a place, you get more credit, okay? You get extra credit. You get bonus. If you get wins on the road, those are the hardest things to do. So you deserve more credit and more respect, but this will be a huge one.
Same reason that I would say Texas needs to win that game. I think LSU needs to win this game.
Yep.
Very much so.
Notre Dame at Miami. Notre Dame at Miami. This is big time. This is big time. the way I look at this one is Notre Dame only has a couple of opportunities to really show you something with their schedule. It's not Murderer's Row by any stretch of the imagination, but they've got two teams. We can go ahead and do this too. I got A&M on this list too. So this is for the first 3 weeks of the season. We're not getting into we're going the first 3 weeks small, but Notre Dame goes at Miami and A&M goes at Notre Dame. Like if Notre Dame loses these two games, like that's going to be very interesting. And Notre Dame is breaking in their new guys at the new spots, and this is a tough spot in the season to do it in against new teams. Like you're going against teams that are really, really good teams. A&M, we know what they're going to be. We know who they're going to be. They know who they're going to be. They know who their quarterback's going to be. Miami has experience at quarterback, experience all over the field. Notre Dame breaking in a new trigger man at Miami against a really good football team that I think could possibly go into the playoffs.
In terms of need, I think Miami needs this game more than Notre Dame. This game specifically. For
persona and big, like just people looking at him?
And mainly just because, like, I think they need it because they might lose some of the games in their conference, and they also got to play Florida. Like, they need it to not be last year when they were 10-2 and left out. Like, if they end up 10-2 and this is one of those 10, then that's huge for them. Notre Dame, to me, if they're this is their only loss, or now if Notre Dame goes and loses both, that can't happen. I agree. Now a 10-2 Notre Dame is scratching, clawing, and hoping that there's a gazillion 9-3 or 8-4 teams.
Yes, and even then it'll be interesting debate if some of those teams like an LSU that they lost to Clemson, who's the number one team in the country, but beat a couple of good teams, right? So, obviously the wins. That's the thing that's always weird with me, the committee. Is it like the wins that matter more, or is it the losses? And usually the bad losses are the ones that kind of catapult you and anchor you down. But Notre Dame at Miami, A&M at Notre Dame, both of those two is going to be really, that's big time games in the first 3 weeks of the season. Like you don't have time to break in a new guy. Like it's go time right now, and you got to pull the trigger.
Like we talked about. No preseason.
All right, last couple. Michigan at Oklahoma. I think this is one of the bigger games, man. Again, another measuring stick. I love getting SEC and Big Ten. Both of these teams, it's going to be interesting to see where they're going. There's hype for both squads. Both teams, you look at playoff predictions, they're in the mix, right? They're both in the mix. Michigan has to go down to Oklahoma. Texas, we talked about, came up to Michigan a year ago. But tell me, this isn't a pretty big one for that playoff fringe contention, I think, this season.
Very much so. And I think it's much like with some of these others, with the way the schedule works out, this is way more important for Oklahoma to me than it is Michigan. One, they're at home. And two, their schedule in the SEC is just not fun in any way, shape, or form. They got the short end of the stick. We've talked about this in a long time. But they need this game just as much for that part, but also just the sheer positive vibes. You've got this whole new quarterback, new offense, everything's going on the uptick. A lot of positivity. You want to win that game at home and not lose that game at home. Looking like if you lose that game at home and now you're looking at the gauntlet of the schedule they have in the SEC, it's like it's hurt. You kind of over before it starts.
Almost an elimination. I mean, I would feel
for those two teams. I agree.
Yeah, I would feel pretty. I think both of these teams are fringe playoff teams. They could get hot. Like Michigan, obviously the big unknown is quarterback play, but we talked about like it can't get worse. Like it can't get worse than what it was a year ago. And Oklahoma, obviously, just completely retooling, rebuilding, but doing it with transfers and guys that have experience. So I wouldn't bet on that game. Neither is John Mateer. Last one. I'm going when you go week 3, just two fringe teams. These are fringe. These are the next two, I think, in that realm that will matter. Florida at LSU. That's a big one to me. LSU again on this list, and that's why you said it was important for the Clemson game. Florida plays Miami as well the next week. Like Florida's got obviously a tough schedule, just like we've talked about with Oklahoma. So I had them on there. And then Georgia at Tennessee. Like that's a Tennessee. Interested to watch them. Their schedule is one of the better ones in the SEC. They beat Georgia. Obviously the Bama game will be big for them, but the schedule sets up pretty nicely. They could lose another game, 2 games, still be that type of team they were a year ago, not go to the SEC championship game and be very much in the playoff. And, that's all you want is a chance to try to win the whole thing in the end.
Very much so. And that's going to be Gunnar Stockton's first true road game. Obviously, the game against Notre Dame was neutral site and kind of split. But this is also one of those ones where, at the moment, Tennessee kind of has a Georgia problem. We've talked about Georgia having a Bama problem, and some of these other teams, Ohio State having a Michigan problem. Tennessee has a Georgia problem, and that's one where Heupel's offense. Like if you look, I did it last season. His points per game in SEC game, the offensive points per game in SEC games against everybody else is something in the mid 30s, and then against Georgia, it's like 17 or 16 or something like that. It's a completely different animal. So, who's playing QB? I think
Sean
the Aguilar
Walker?
kid is going to.
Yeah, it's obviously it didn't help with Aguilar missing spring ball. But Aguilar's getting paid a lot of money, and there's a reason they went and got him. He's got the experience. I definitely lean that direction, but there's a lot of good games on the schedule. That's why we're jacked up and excited. That's why if your wife has plans for you the first week of the season, you get out of them. Find something else to do.
It's a holiday weekend too.
Whatever you are doing, that's that weekend. Cancel all the plans. You can find other things to do other times. And if there's a wedding, that's their fault for having a wedding during that time. You have absolute right to skip. I have brought an iPad to a wedding before. You ever done that? I literally brought an iPad and watched the whole time football while somebody did
most people do their phones now. And I've heard people talk about
iPad. I was